My friends, I wanted to share a brief summary of a component of what I believe to be the core of a long-term solution to the challenge of a lasting peace in the Middle East. This has been a challenged region of the world for nearly time immemorial, as is well documented in any history book that you can name, and certainly all the way back to and including a biblical text of conflicts between the descendants of Abraham. That's why they call it Abrahamic religions: Judaism, Islam, and Christianity, with all of their various sects. The stories of the Bible, from my perspective, are akin to history books that are the best that our ancient ancestors could muster. And it's always important to read such texts in the context of the knowledge bases of the persons of such eras, in context of their times. There's a wonderful story of an African indigenous tribe, I forget which one, that when members of this tribe in relatively modern times, past few decades, saw their first Southwest airline jet fly overhead, they proclaimed "flying banana" in their native tongues. It's instructive because they've never seen that kind of jet aircraft before. So what mental pictures or symbols did they have? That is to say, we must always use our good judgment from science when we assess the historicity of scriptural texts. But in that sense, there has been extraordinary evidence over the past century plus 2 centuries of great science on historicity of certain events in the Bible that are substantial and rather sweeping in implications, such as the stories of a great flood. And with modern evidence mounting, it's a convincing story that actually is part of history. And we can get more and more accurate as the data grows over time as to what exactly happened and more precisely when. But here's my point. The ancient scriptures have taken on what my father used to call numinosity. It's the sensation of something much bigger than yourself, bigger than humanity, and it's what we refer to as spiritual, or even mystical. It's the quality of being significant historically and having an impact on our past, our present, and our future. In Israel and the surrounding lands inside and adjacent to Israel, the Holy Land, as we all refer to it, the recent events have been so catastrophically dangerous, damaging, even atrocious. The word atrocity comes to mind for what the leaders of Hamas and other perpetrators involved have done to disrupt a trajectory towards a lasting peace in the Middle East. And that's what I wish to conclude upon in this brief, a part of my surrounding message on the options we have as a planet and certainly most of all, and most centrally, the people of Israel, the people of Palestine. The central point that I believe must be resolved is the legacy, again, of World War II. We are still fighting through the battles that were waged and resolved to a greater or lesser degree as best that as the victors of that cataclysmic war could do. And when the British government partitioned Palestine to give finally a home for the millions of dislocated Jews after the wrenching Holocaust that still burns in our memories for the great sins of Adolf Hitler, it was done with the best intentions, I believe, to right some wrongs, but in the process it wronged some rights, and that to this day has now boiled over once again, and this time with grave consequences for our planet if we don't get ahead of it. I have been contemplating for over 20 years a unique idea, I believe, and I plan on floating it when I travel to the Middle East, as I intend to do soon. And it's the concept of a change to the status of Jerusalem, that with the consent, of course, of the Jewish people and the citizens of Israel, with that as a hope for given, the idea of the international community led by Israel to make Jerusalem, that holy city, the world's first truly open city, where all passports that are cleared for security purposes by the Israeli government are declared valid, and all peoples from all walks of life who carry such a passport from any nation whatsoever that clears security clearances both at a national and at a personal level shall have access to visit and to stay for a time, if you will, an automatic visa, so long as the security checks are appropriately made on an individual basis, presuming that the nation from which they come is cleared as a whole. The world's first open city, a world city where all are welcome and where the elected government of the nation of Israel manages residency and the permitting process of visitation capacity. That is a unique solution to a great problem that can welcome all citizens of planet Earth that present no threat to themselves and to others, to enjoy that magnificent city, that city of God that I have personally visited on more than one occasion and for lengths of time, in the first such when I was 12. I will not forget walking in the cobblestone streets through the old city and through at least 3 of the 4 gates, and with my family members enjoying the sights and sounds of places where the prophets of old walked. I have often been asked who was the greatest philosopher who ever lived, and in fact that person's name was Jesus in my book. And as a scientist, but also as a spiritually minded person, I have no problem any longer holding in my mind and in my heart at the same time that science and spirituality are not inherently in conflict, only when they're set against each other. I will recall the moment of that flash which came to me reading the great works of other philosophers, including a modern one by the name of Ken Wilber. I thought to myself one day, while serving as the CEO of the world's largest internet consultancy, US Web, that I founded in '98, I thought to myself, what are they really fighting about, science and spirituality? And it came to me that science is the way a universal force measures itself, and spirituality is the way that universal force feels itself. If we wish to call that universal force the cosmos, or God, or Allah, or as Mormons might say, the Holy Spirit. We all have our ways of characterizing what it feels to feel the spiritual sensation of our bodies. And when we can see that science is in no way in conflict with spiritual traditions, because it's the way we measure that universal force, that we measure things in ourselves. That kind of perspective certainly changed my life, and I no longer have such conflicts in my soul, in my mind, about holding concepts of science and spirituality together. And it's in that sense that I believe that with many aspects of this notion to be thought through and worked out, as they have been behind some closed doors and will be further, I wanted to share that perspective tonight as I head off to Washington, D.C., and hopefully on to Tel Aviv to meet with principals there and to share my perspectives as a candidate for President of the United States. Share these perspectives, and let's try to get ahead of this World War III before it goes any further. I thank you, my brothers and sisters, my fellow citizens. May God bless you, your families, and may God bless the United States of America. We'll see you soon.